I'm Aaron Maté, sitting in for Jimmy Dore, here with Americans comedian Kurt Metzger. And let's talk about this. Remember this whole thing about the Chinese supposed spy balloon? Here's a dramatic headline from CNN. Inside Biden's decision to take care of the Chinese spy balloon that triggered a diplomatic crisis.
Oh my God. They didn't exactly get on that like a Nord Stream pipeline level.
And then, so when this balloon was flying over the U.S., there was a big freak out, and it led to stories like this. Now look at China's history of spying in the U.S.
Did this just come out, or how long ago?
This was back when the balloon was.
This is before Balloon-uary 6th. Yeah. Wait, but because I was trying to look up the balloon because, like I told you, I thought I dreamt it. It was such a dumb. So I looked it up and it was like, why they would use a balloon. They're listing all these reasons why it would be advantageous to spy with a balloon. And I was like, did anybody just I just want to raise my hand. Do you think maybe a big white balloon might be the most noticeable thing? I mean, I get it's low tech and
maybe we're not supposed to. Maybe there's matters of intelligence that us lay people are not allowed to grasp.
Does this history include a car jammed filled with clowns? Is their entire history?
Well, look, Kurt, you're skeptic.
They come at us with those big dragon puppets. And, all right.
I remember actually when this was happening, Kurt, you texted me and said, "What the hell?"
You're
like, "This is bullshit." Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I couldn't find one thing because I saw. The fine print was suspected spy balloon.
Yeah.
Was what they all said. Then they all just dropped suspected.
Yes. As they always do.
And so suspected. I'm like, well, that's like free credit report. How that's not I couldn't find one thing saying it was not. So I was like, this has to be me. That's why I texted you.
Yeah.
If they're all agreeing on it, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, your skepticism has been vindicated because now, of course, as always happens, whenever there is this explosive claim made about an official enemy like China or Russia or whoever else, there's always the moment when it has to be walked back, when the evidence has to be admitted, when the hype has worn off.
They've examined the payload?
Of the balloon payload, yes, they have. So not only was there this supposed Chinese spy balloon, but also these recent unidentified flying objects that the U.S. shot down over Canada. And now we're getting
balloons.
Well, we don't know yet. But now we're going to get an update on what these objects and balloons really are about.
Back here in Washington, there is breaking news tonight on that Chinese spy balloon. CBS News has just
breaking news. It's not a spy balloon.
We have recovered all of the hack dick pics of Billings, Montana that were found inside the payload.
Learned that U.S. intelligence watched the high-flying airship as it lifted off near China's south coast.
You hear that? So U.S. intelligence watched this balloon the moment it left China.
That was my question, because it has to come from mainland China, right?
Yes.
So I think Jimmy showed all the bases we have surround.
Oh, yeah.
None of our high tech surrounding China bases picked up on this balloon.
No, they absolutely did, and that's what they have to admit now. It's like we're supposed to initially admit that all of a sudden this Chinese spy balloon appeared out of nowhere. Well, guess what? We were tracking it the whole time, and the reason why we're tracking it is because it's not a spy balloon; it's actually a weather tracking balloon, as we're going to get to.
Wait, China told the truth,
and our media lied. Imagine that.
That means the U.S. military had been tracking it for nearly a week before it entered U.S. airspace, longer than originally known.
You don't say.
Wait, is this story going to end with why didn't they act sooner to stop the Chinese spy balloon?
Correct. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
CBS's Nancy.
It doesn't take a Chinese spy balloon to know what they're going to say.
This is at the White House. So, Nancy, they were watching this from the beginning?
They were, Nora, and what they saw was this balloon heading east from China towards Guam and Hawaii. But then it took a sharp northward turn, a beeline towards Alaska.
And we're going to get to why that was. And it turns out this was just a weather system, some cold air that pushed it that way. This was not a spy balloon trying to, monitor the secrets of the U.S. This was just a weather balloon being pushed by the weather.
This sounds like something when you hear you'd hear about like China, there's somebody crashed, you are a spy. That's what we did with all right.
Yes.
Also revealed today that the 3 subsequent objects they shot down probably were not involved in spying.
You don't say. You don't say.
Wait, why are you still writing spy balloon in the thing underneath it then?
The 3 objects shot down this weekend may have been harmless research balloons. That's now a leading theory for the intelligence community.
There
Did
we
they
go.
bring up UFOs so that this balloon thing is that embarrassing so that you would associate like, oh, they're trying to say it was just balloons now?
It's a good question. I mean, this happened at a very opportune time. Also, there was the story about the U.S. blowing up Nord Stream 2. So it's a good time to start a freak out about some unidentified flying objects and a Chinese spy balloon.
Well, I thought, what's his name? Was it Blinken was supposed to go to China?
He canceled his trip.
Like that. I thought it was like to get out of going on a trip to China.
So here is from Caitlin Johnstone. U.S. officials now say Chinese spy balloon flew over U.S. accidentally. And Caitlin talks about this headline in the Washington Post. U.S. tracked China's spy balloon from launch on Hainan Island along unusual path. But check out the subheading there. It says, the large Chinese surveillance device that flew across Alaska and the continental U.S. may have been diverted on an errant path caused by atypical weather conditions.
Was there a rudder on the balloon? Because if there wasn't, I'd say probably that's how it happened.
But notice how the headline's still calling it a spy balloon. So the headline is spy balloon, but then in the subheading, they actually watered it down to surveillance device because that surveillance device was really just tracking weather.
Well, they're spying on our weather.
And here it is from this Washington Post article. According to several U.S. officials who said analysts are now examining the possibility that China didn't intend to penetrate the American heartland with their airborne surveillance device.
Oh.
The balloon floated over Alaska's Aleutian Islands, thousands of miles away from Guam, then drifted over Canada, where it encountered strong winds that appear to have pushed the balloon south into the continental United States.
My God, could it be possible?
And there it is.
We
right
must
there.
examine the possibility.
There's the weather system. This is basically why we had a Chinese spy balloon freak out.
So you're saying they control the weather?
Here's Caitlin Johnson again. Washington Post. It was a spy balloon. It was a spy balloon. It's definitely 100% a Chinese spy balloon. Okay. It had no intention of flying over America to spy on us, but it was definitely 100% a spy balloon. She also says, so it's entirely possible that the American political media class has been spending the month of February furiously demanding more militarism and more Cold War escalations over 4 harmless balloons. Sometimes I think U.S. media should abandon its whole free speech, free press charade and just switch to publishing news straight out of the Pentagon.
Really?
Yes.
I think the Pentagon thinks that most of the time.
And again, so after the Chinese balloon came these unidentified objects that were shot down. And check out the headline there. 3 objects shot down after Chinese spy balloon. Of course, it's not a spy balloon. May be benign, White House says. And here is White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre speaking on MSNBC.
Why is the American military shooting something out of the sky over Canada?
Because it's part of NORAD. There is the NORAD is part of like it's a what you call a coalition, a consortium, and so.
Because we got to shoot something down, we just got to just knock something, and they happen to be over Canada, so
we can't take a chance on another balloon. It was a little embarrassing because they don't want to not warmonger with China, but they also so the Democrats were like, no, we knew it was a spy balloon. No, we were watching it. We can't just shoot down a spy balloon. They couldn't say it's just not a spy balloon.
Exactly.
A pact, okay. Exactly, and so that's why we were able to do that. Again, we didn't do it on our own. We did it clearly in step with Canada.
Canada helped us shoot down.
I say Canada all the time.
Fair enough. And by the way, these missiles that were used to shoot down these objects over Canada, pretty expensive. Sidewinder missile Biden used over Lake Huron cost over $450,000. But guess what? The military missed the unidentified flying object with its first missile shot over Lake Huron.
Wait a minute. The UFO, are they also still calling UFO? So there's another balloon at this point, right?
These are other, I'm not sure even the nature of these objects. It could be balloons, but they're unidentified. And the point is we try to shoot them down, but we missed the first time. Mike Tracy says, so because of some weird political frenzy over alleged spy balloons, the U.S. military just fired a $400,000 Sidewinder missile. Sidewinder that hit nothing and splashed right into Lake Huron. Makes sense.
I mean, it sounds like a bargain if you look at how they spend.
Here's more from Bloomberg. U.S. says 3 mystery objects likely private with no China link. Until initial evidence finds no link to Chinese espionage efforts. But guess what? We might not know this because the debris has not been located, according to the Pentagon. This is Max Blumenthal. Biden directed the military to shoot down several objects over U.S. skies, but may never be able to tell the public what those objects are and may not know himself. Now his administration is trying to tamp down on burgeoning conspiracies because why would the public have questions? And what they're saying here is from one official, if it can't be recovered, it's going to be extremely difficult to say with great certainty what these things were.
It sounds like they're trying to cause conspiracies is what it sounds like.
Absolutely. And they're doing a great job, but not after they also stoked a new round of Cold War panic and frenzy by accusing China of launching a spy balloon over the U.S. when it turns out this is a weather balloon pushed by a weather system.
I did suspect the spy balloon was not, in fact, a spy. I also now suspect, does anyone use a spy balloon? I've never heard of that ever. Maybe World War I, they did some spy ballooning.
Yeah. Did the inventor of the balloon think of his invention as being used for spying?
Phineas Balloon? I don't know.
Phineas.
Doing live stand-up comedy in Tempe, Palm Springs, Milwaukee, Nashville, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York, and Hartford, Connecticut. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets and become a premium member. Get access to all our content.